Welcome to Hedwigs Army, a Harry Potter podcast all about the magical wizarding world and our take on it. Hello everybody, I'm Josh.
And this is Trevor.
And welcome to the first official episode of Hedwigs Army. Finally made it, man. Finally made it. So, for those of you who have listened to the introductory episode, welcome back. Thank you for listening. And if this is your first episode, thank you for tuning in. We highly recommend you go listen to the introductory episode as well so that we explain kind of what we're doing here, give a little bit of information about us and our Potter and more stuff.
Oh.
Yep, our Potter. Yep, there you go. But from here on out, we're just going to start with the chapters. This episode, we're going to go ahead and start with chapter 1. And before we dive on in, though, I do want to issue a spoiler alert. We're rereading the chapters. Me and Trevor have already read through all of these books. We've watched all of these movies. You know, we're big Harry Potter fans. We talk about Harry Potter all the time. So this is not our first rodeo. So the things that we're going to talk about in this podcast are going to consist of theories. They're going to consist of foreshadowing. We're going to be making connections to later parts of the series. So if you've not gone through the Harry Potter series, there's going to be spoilers. So know that going forward. But if that's okay with you guys, then let's go ahead and get started. I don't want to waste any time here. Normally right now we would do some questions and stuff, but seeing as it's the first episode, we haven't gotten any. We haven't published the intro yet, so once things start going,
please feel free to send us your questions, comments, things you notice that we haven't pointed out yet, or maybe some theories that are maybe less common.
Right. Yeah.
There are some very common theories that I think a lot of us who have read the book or have looked up on YouTube or read somewhere that there's these certain theories that it's just, you have this one, and we have this one. So
yeah, so just go out and reach out to us. I believe, let me pull up, it's Hedwigs Army at yahoo.com. Let me pull up the information about that. But yeah, if you have any...
I want to say it was Yahoo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me pull it up. But if you have any, like you said, if you have any questions, we're going to be doing a whole question segment called the Hot Seat. And once we get some questions, then we're going to go ahead and get that started. Being the first week, like I said, we haven't even, we haven't even published our first introduction episode yet, so we don't have anything for that. So this is going to be a little bit of a quicker episode probably than normal, but that's all right. Give you guys a taste of what's to come.
Does not mean it's not going to be detailed.
Oh, it's gonna be detailed. Hang on here.
I'm almost certain
Yeah, I don't know where I put that. So give me 1 second here, guys. Here we go. Yep, so we got our email. It's Hedwigs Army Podcast at yahoo.com. So Hedwigs Army Podcast at yahoo.com. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at Hedwigs_Army, or you can reach out to my personal Twitter if you'd like. It's Salty Vulture on Twitter. It's Salty Vulture on Twitter. And yeah, if you guys got any questions, go ahead and reach out to us on there. Or obviously, you can leave a comment on I believe we're going to be on iTunes to start. So wherever you're listening to the podcast, if you can leave a comment there and put whatever you want. Obviously, the easiest way to get to us is going to be that email, though, because I have it open. I have it on my phone. I check it daily. So go ahead and just reach out to us. And let us know, we're also going to be reading some fan stories on podcasts. So if you got any of those, any Harry Potter stories for, your thoughts opinions on Harry Potter, what Harry Potter means to you, how you got into Harry Potter, those sorts of things. We're going to get our first fan Harry Potter story on our next episode. So I've already gotten that arranged. So we'll be introducing that in our next episode, as well as hopefully we'll have some questions so we can start our hot seat. But like I said, other than that, right now we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So we're going to go ahead and I've written out a summary, and me and Trevor are going to take turns here reading the summary and just kind of talking about our thoughts, opinions, and etc. So I'll go ahead and get started on this.
Mm-hmm.
So we open up with the Dursleys, of course. So in the first chapter, we see Mr. and Mrs. Dursley for the first time, as well as number 4 Privet Drive. The Dursleys take pride in referring to themselves as perfectly normal, thank you very much. We find out that Mr. Dursley works at a drill company called Grunnings, and he is described as a big, beefy man with hardly any neck. And something I've seen throughout this series, J.K. Rowling is savage when it comes to these descriptions. She does not hold back in the least bit, as you'll tell with my next description here. So, Mrs. Dursley is described as thin and blonde, and having nearly twice the usual amount of neck.
So maybe if you mix them, you know.
And I believe
Dudley will have a medium neck.
A medium neck, but he's still going to be beefy, I guess is the nicest way to say it. But I believe also somewhere throughout the series that she starts describing Mrs. Dursley as horse-like. So, yeah, no holds bars on that one. It is, yeah, so she likes to use her unusually large neck to spy on neighbors. So it's one of them types of families. It is mentioned that they have a secret and that it had something to do with Mrs. Dursley's sister. Interesting. Very secret.
Before we move on, because as we're talking about the Mrs. Dursley's sister,
right?
Obviously, Lily Potter.
Hint, hint, Lily Potter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And of course, they had a son
named Harvey, right?
Yeah,
Harvey or Harold, wasn't it Harold?
You know what? That's a great question. But it states in there, it says that Mr. and Mrs. Dursley didn't want Dudley mixing in with a child like that. That's what it says there.
Interesting.
Which I think is hilarious, considering how we get to see Dudley in later books. He's interesting.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah, interesting. I guess is the nicest way we can describe that. But I see what you're saying, because I mean, she doesn't want him to mix, but you know, we all know it's because she's stuck up. But you can't help but think, okay, well, she.
Well, I mean,
I
don't know if I would call her so much stuck up.
She's stuck up, bro.
Because we do get some hint drops at something later on, like in, I want to say it's book 6 or 7. I want to say it's 7. Of a side that we don't really get to see of her throughout almost the entire series.
Yeah, I mean, I still think she's stuck up, though.
No,
I mean, she's spying on her neighbors.
Anything I said that's like.
My point is, it's ironic that she doesn't want Dudley mixing with Harry because she's afraid that Harry will be a bad influence on Dudley. And it's ironic because, as we all know, Dudley isn't very, nice to Harry and makes his life miserable. So, who's the bad influence here? So, I mean, it's ironic. It's funnily ironic.
That they're kind of douchebags. But I mean, they want to,
kind of. More like extremely.
But they want to look.
Well, no, they're normal. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's move on. I mentioned that, it's mentioned that Mrs. Dursley's sister has some sort of secret. No idea what that could be about. And because of this, she does not speak to her sister or of her sister, and then she pretends like she doesn't even have one, which is kind of messed up. Like, I mean, I understand when you don't speak to your brother or sister because they've done really bad things in life, but she literally was just born a wizard. Or witch, my bad. Spoiler alert. How you gonna cut her out because she was born a certain way? I mean, that's messed up. That's blood. That's crazy. And as we find out, she's more so jealous of her, but we'll get into that in 75 years when we get to book 7.
Yeah, but don't give.
Oh, it's spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Y'all have heard it. We'll discuss that in book 7 in the 8 years from now. Anyway, so we see that Dursleys are very adamant about looking normal to the point that they are worried what the neighbors would think if Mrs. Dursley's sister showed up at her door. So let me think. So they're so worried about her sister showing up at the door because she's probably because she wears robes, but like.
I mean, robes in like
that's
70. I'm assuming this is like the late 70s, early 80s.
This is in the 80s because Harry's born. I believe this is 81. This takes place in 1980.
Well, no, I'm saying, but it implies that like in previous years. But I mean, really,
we're 1980.
Considering what the
fact
70s,
check me on that, guys.
Considering what the 70s were, I mean, seeing somebody in a robe is probably
not that
least,
strange.
Yeah,
I mean, they did a lot of drugs in the 70s, so they wore bell bottoms, bro.
I mean, that's kind of like a cape.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. She's more worried, or she's more worried about what the neighbors would think if Lily showed up on her door than she is about her and her sister's relationship.
It's a little messy.
So it's not like, okay, if my sister shows up at my door, I'm worried we're gonna fight. I'm worried, we're not gonna get along. She's more worried, what are the neighbors gonna think? They're gonna think, hey, some weirdo's on the Dursley's doorstep. Get over it. Like, what? That doesn't make you unnormal because somebody weird is showing up at your house. Like, everyone's got weird friends or relatives or something. It doesn't mean that, said person is weird. And what's wrong with being weird? Get over it. Ain't nobody normal.
Speaking of weird, Mr. Dursley, he's leaving for work one morning, and he sees, just some things that are out of the ordinary. Sees a cat reading a street sign. Hint, hint, hint. This is, spoiler alert, the first time we get introduced to magic, but don't actually realize until later in the chapter.
Right.
Which I think is actually really cool.
Right. And the funniest part is the cat reading a street sign isn't even the magic of it.
How so?
Well, I'm saying, I mean,
the part see a cat reading
the street sign isn't magic. The fact that the cat's a cat is magic.
Oh, well,
No. I'm just saying it's ironic because that's the thing about the series is you think one thing is ironic and then you just find out, or you think one thing's weird and you just find out it's even weirder than you think. A cat's reading a map. That's kind of weird. That seems magical. Well, I mean, yeah, a cat reading a map would be magical if it was really a cat.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Mrs. Norris.
Okay, Mrs. Norris. There's theories about that. If she's even really a cat. Well, obviously she's a cat, but if she's was born a cat.
Right.
But again, in 7 years.
Well, and this is what gets me is he does a double take to check if what he's seeing is real. But what I want to know is, how did you know the cat was reading the sign in the first place?
Yeah, maybe it was looking at the sign.
And even says in there, actually, he tries to convince himself that it's only looking at the map because, of course, real cats can't actually read. can they?
Yeah, hey, we don't know. We can't communicate with cats. Maybe they can read. Maybe all this weird stuff that we're writing down, these cats are looking at it, reading it, and being like, what the blank is going on here? Because...
Right.
You know?
Well, and then, he's sitting in traffic, Yay, traffic, work traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Fun.
It is when you got a brand new 2018 Chevy Cruise. What?
Oh, yeah. I've never really... but, he starts seeing people in cloaks, which, I don't know, like, when they say coats, it makes me think of, like a trench coat. Or, not coats, my bad. Cloaks. Makes me think of trench coats. Just...
Yeah, I would say they're
like... kind of people.
I would say they're more, what's the word? They're more,
Well, obviously, like, my mind's been changed. Seeing, as when you look at the movies, obviously they don't look like trench coats, per se. But, I'm saying, if you were reading this for the first time, cloak, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'd say they're more elegant.
Kenobi.
They're more elegant trench cloaks. Versions of trench cloaks. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird to see cloaks on people. But again...
as it says,
right.
A man older than him wearing an emerald cloak.
Emerald. How dare he wear an emerald cloak? Like, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just weird. Maybe, maybe Mr. Dursley is normal and I'm the weirdo. But, and maybe it's because it's 2018 and not 1980. But if I'm driving by people that are wearing cloaks, I'm not like, oh, these are weirdos. These are part of some weird gang or some weird crowd. I'm thinking, alright, they're wearing cloaks. Cool. Like, again, y'all wore some bell bottoms in the 70s. Like, weird fashions is not anything new in the 80s, believe me. But, again, this just kind of goes to show, like, he's over worried about...
He's actually outraged. He's
Outraged.
outraged at this because, this is abnormal, which I agree with him, to see people with cloaks, especially given, like we were saying, the time period. But he loves having something feel normal. So, after having a normal owl-free morning, as he says, he decides to go to the bakery for a bun for lunch. And while passing these weirdos in cloaks, he catches a mere whisper of the name Potter and Harry. And he even does a double take. He's like, wait, Potter. Can't really be talking about the Potters. And then he questions, wait, is my nephew's name Harry?
Could be Harold. Could be Harvey.
And then he's like, well, should I call my wife? I don't know. Maybe not. But then he decides, that's probably not a great idea. Because I'm pretty sure he was thinking at the time, I don't really want my wife to be angry at me.
Yeah. Yeah, because, again, just mentioning Lily's name in front of Petunia
was enough to set her off.
Ruins her day. I mean, that's kind of messed up. Like there are some people in my life that I wouldn't say I'm fans of. I wouldn't want to run into them at the supermarket. But if somebody's like, hey, have you heard about blah, 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 I wouldn't be like freaking out and screaming at them and letting it ruin my day. I'd be like, nope. Thankfully, no. Like, that's the kind of crazy we're talking about here. And I say crazy because it's crazy. They call it normal, I call it crazy.
Right.
Like, alright, get over yourself. Spoiler alert, your sister's dead. What are you still jealous of? Really? What are you jealous of at this point? Get over it and stop being a wife. Oh, I guess technically she's not at this point. But for the rest of the series, it applies.
Right.
at this point, her sister's still alive. So I'll give her a pass on this one. But after this chapter, she needs to cool her jets. So anyways, while fumbling with all of these thoughts that he's having, Mr. Dursley, as he left work for the day, he accidentally walked straight into a man wearing a violet cloak. He expected the stranger to be upset, but instead, the stranger was smiling, and he goes into a mini rant to Mr. Dursley. The exact wording that the stranger says is, "Don't be sorry, me dear." That was a terrible accent. I'm going to skip the accent, but I feel like that's how he would talk. He says, "Don't be sorry, my dear sir, for nothing could upset me today. Rejoice, for you know who has gone at last. Even muggles like yourself should be celebrating this happy, happy day." Time out. What?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things I can say here. There's a lot of things I've thought of while writing this summary. But here's the number one thing that comes to my mind. Ministry of Magic? A Statute of Secrecy?
Actually,
They're walking around in cloaks talking about Voldemort's downfall to the point where they're telling muggles, they know that muggles do not know about Voldemort because muggles do not know about wizards 99% of the time. So you are going to have a muggle bump into you, call him a muggle, and tell him he should be rejoicing because you know who, which at that point, just call him Voldemort, you're going to get better results. Is gone. So, I can't, he then...
Do you know who? I'm a muggle. I don't know who.
Yeah. Do you know who? Because I don't know who. But, to make it even weirder, the stranger hugged Mr. Dursley and left. And Mr. Dursley is very confused. Now, you know what? I'm with Mr. Dursley 100% on this one. Like, what just happened?
Being hugged by a random person.
Right.
I mean, I'm not completely against it.
Right.
Maybe, okay, cool.
Right.
Somebody's hugging me.
But, like, 90% of the time, I think the Dursleys in general are extremely overdramatic. This is the 10%. This is where it's like, yeah, I'd be a little confused, too. Because, first of all, Mr. Dursley knows about magic. That's the ironic thing here. He knows about magic. He still doesn't know what a muggle is. He still don't know why these people are wearing cloaks. And he still has no clue who you know who is. So, if this is a muggle who knows zero about magic, he's probably calling the police on you at this point. Some weird random person. I digress. My point being clear. So then, Mr. Dursley leaves, very confused, pulls into a driveway, and what's the first thing that he sees when pulling into his driveway? The cat from that morning. That cat. And he knew it was the same cat because it had the same markings around its eyes, and that is in quotations. I actually wrote something down because I decided to do some digging on that. Now, as we know, who have read not only Chapter 1, but the Harry Potter series in general, this is not a cat. This is no ordinary cat.
Right.
This is Minerva McGonagall. She's in her animagus form. So, again, spoiler alert. But, I'm like, when he says markings around its eyes, like, and I know, yes, it's J.K. Rowling throwing that in, but if we take it for what it's giving us, a muggle who just assumes this is a cat, noticing that it has specific markings around its eyes. Now, I drive around and see stray cats all the time. I could not tell you if one had a specific marking on it, which I'm sure they do, because that's a little detail. But if these markings are so
maybe he's
distinct,
a cat person?
Maybe I'm going to go ahead and say he's not a cat person. I'm just going to take a long shot in the dark here and say that Vernon Dursley does not care about cats. I think that's a pretty strong, solid point.
Well, then
but it's not canon. It's not canon. So, but my point is, he remembers the markings around its eyes. So, I wanted to look up, obviously she's in her animagus form, and she wears glasses. So markings around her eyes, is that, does that represent her glasses? So if you have a specific look to you, does that carry with you in animagus form? Also,
if you're wearing something, does that transfer?
Exactly. So is it only, if that's the case, is it only when she's wearing glasses? Because what if she's not wearing glasses? Then the markings don't really make any sense. Only thing I can find on it is on the Harry Potter Wikia page, which I've seen used in other Harry Potter podcasts, so it seems pretty straightforward. I wouldn't call it canon 100%, but they seem to know their stuff there. So there they quote, Minerva wore square spectacles that matches the markings around the eyes of her animagus and Patronus, a silver tabby cat. So while it's not 100% confirmed, I think it's safe to assume that the markings most likely do represent her glasses. Which opens up the question. If she's not wearing her glasses, when she changes into her animagus form, does she still have the markings around her eyes?
Can she still see? Or is her vision affected?
I would say when she changes, her vision goes, I don't want to say 20/20, but her vision improves because, as silly as it would be to see a cat with glasses, she's not wearing glasses as a cat. So, I guess there's an argument maybe the markings are her glasses. I think that's a little too out there. But who knows? If anyone has any opinions on that or thoughts on that, let us know what you guys think, because I'm kind of at a loss. Personally, I think if she's wearing glasses, she has the markings. If she's not wearing glasses, she doesn't. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if it's ever been confirmed or not.
Right.
Dear J.K. Rowling, if you could let us know. Thanks.
Well, and back to Mrs. Dursley. Has a normal day. Tells her husband, the neighbors, and something about the neighbor's daughter, and how Dudley had worn the word won't.
Won't. I won't. I just feel like that's how he says it. I won't.
And then, interesting enough, maybe everybody just wants to watch the news. They decide to watch the news, and filled with more strange things. The newscasters point out how owls are literally flying through the day, not normal. And it's not just one or two owls, it's hundreds of owls. And then they make a joke about the downpour of shooting stars instead of rain, like one of the newscasters predicted, which, of course, goes back to something we were talking about earlier about statute of secrecy. Anybody?
Question mark, yeah.
Do we just not... We're like, oh, hey...
Right.
Most evil wizard seems to have died. Let's all just say screw it and
right, and
break our secrecy and possibly start ourselves into like a witch hunt almost.
Right, and as I don't remember if I put it in the summary, but Miss McGonagall does mention later in the chapter that fitting it would be that the day that who disappears, that the Muggles find out about them. Like, yeah. So you get rid of one problem to probably risk taking on a bigger problem.
Oh, risk? Huh. I'm actually surprised.
Right. The Muggles, they don't see nothing, do they?
Oh, God.
That's in about 2 years right there. Book 3. No, but yeah, I digress. We already covered the fact that they're being...
Well, and Mr. Dursley is
unreasonable.
Okay, this is strange news. I'm going to upset my wife. And he's like, well, have you heard anything from your sister? And she's like, well, no, why?
But she snaps it at him. That's the important part. She snaps at him. That itty bitty little question. Oh, have you ever heard from your sister? You
No.
know, yeah, she snaps.
Okay.
No. Why? Like, chill.
Right. And of course, they have a short conversation in which she confirms that her nephew, his name is Harry.
Right.
And when he hears this, Mr. Dursley is very, very... It's upsetting him.
Very sullen.
He's like, oh, okay. I mean, if I was Mr. Dursley, and I heard that kind of news, and then had my wife confirm that for me, I think I'd have this reaction.
Right. Because, yeah, there's millions of Harrys. There's probably thousands of Potters. But how many different Harry Potters are there connected with weird crowds? I don't know.
And then, of course, he looks out and, again, sees this cat. Which makes me wonder the layout of their house. Is their room facing,
the road?
Right.
Must be, right? Although, then again, if you...
Also, how does he... At this point in the night, because this is relatively late, I don't know if they specifically say, but if I had to guess, probably like 10 or 11 at night. And you're telling me that you somehow notice, even with lights on, the street lights, a cat sitting on a wall at 11 at night. Now that's interesting.
Right. Now, I had to pull up a picture here, but I wanted to make a comment that I thought of. So, to go with your point, Trevor, the layout of the house, now...
At least in the movie.
Right. Now, in the movie. Now, in the second movie, Chamber of Secrets, we see the Weasleys rescue Harry from his room because he gets barred in. And I'm looking at the layout of the house. Now, I recall there's 2 sets of windows upstairs. There's a left side and a right side. The left side has 3 window panel, and the right side has 1 single window. Now, Mr. Dursley bars up the left side window with the 3 panels, and that's also the one that they help Harry escape from. But here's the issue I'm having: the Dursleys are very... What's the word? Cocky.
Mm.
Maybe that's not the right word. But my point is, foolish, of course, but, so, it's funny, and maybe this is a plot hole in the movies. There's no way, even if it was Dursley's second bedroom, there's no way they're gonna let Harry stay in a room that is bigger than their own. And, with that being said, if indeed they can see the road from their bedroom window, that means that they have the single window, which makes it seem like it's a smaller room than the one that Harry resides in.
Also interesting.
Am I thinking way too much into this? Probably. Might just be a plot hole on the movie's part, but interesting none the least, because we all know there's no way ever that the Dursleys would give Harry a bigger room than the one they're sleeping in. It wouldn't happen. So, that's interesting. Ooh, sorry about that. That's interesting to think about, but I don't know, that might just be one of those plot holes, like I said.
Well, and it's saying...
We all know the movies have nothing but plot holes in them.
Well, but it's saying he saw it from down the street.
True, so maybe he saw it out of his side window.
How do you see?
Yeah, you never know.
It's gotta be...
True, yeah.
4 or 5 houses down.
Right.
In the middle
and you're assuming it's at night. Like, how are you going to see the cat at night?
Right, and he probably gets up early for work.
I mean, he's got to have 20/20 vision.
I mean, so you're telling me at night and in the morning you somehow notice a cat that you point out two things specific about it. One, that it has markings around its eyes. And two, that it is reading something. Now, the marking around the eyes, again, kind of weird, because I don't think most people notice those kind of things. Maybe that's just me. But that could have been explained away by the fact that I believe this is when he's getting home from work that he notices that. So it's a little bit lighter out.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess
Right.
I'll give him that. But you mean to tell me when he gets up for work, which, like I said, probably...
Well, it's when he's
sooner.
going to bed, but...
Well,
still,
when he
it's
wakes
probably-
up for work and goes to work, I'm assuming it's got to still be...
I would say 9 a.m. I feel like he's got one of those 9 to 5 jobs.
Oh, okay. Depending on the time of year, I guess. I'll give it to him.
But it's
Not
also a different country, so who knows what they work.
Maybe.
Anyways, let's digress. So, the Dursleys go to sleep. But, of course, the cat that's outside seems wide awake as ever, sitting still as a statue and was staring unblinkingly at the corner of Privet Drive. Out of nowhere, a man appeared on the corner of the road, Privet Drive, right where the cat was staring. He was unlike the other people that have entered this road before him. He was tall, thin, and very old, with a silver beard and hair which was long enough to tuck into his belt. That's weird. That would be really weird if you see a guy walking around with his hair tucked into his belt. I don't even like tucking my shirt in. Anyways.
Well, and it even says, something I pointed out, I know we just went on a tangent, but it says that Albus Dumbledore didn't seem to realize that he had just arrived in a street where everything from his name to his boots were unwelcome.
Right.
And it made me think, was J.K. Rowling meaning literally everyone on that street, whether they knew that he was magical or not? Or was it because the Dursleys, for some other reason?
I would say, I think they're all just like that on that street. I think they're all stuck up and snobby.
Or maybe this is pointing out, maybe a little bit, this is giving us a hint towards the fact that, spoiler alert, when we find out that Dumbledore is gay, maybe this is a hint that, like, the people on that street wouldn't like somebody who's gay.
Yeah, but I don't think
Less likely.
looks are gonna give away anything.
Well, it doesn't
I
say.
mean, he doesn't look gay. Not that gay has a look, but like he's not walking down in rainbow everything with a sign that says "Kiss me, I'm gay." You know, I mean, I don't think you can tell someone's gay by the way they look. Usually.
Good point.
But either way, they're very judgmental, so I'm sure they would not like him even more if they found out he is gay. Which is canon, because J.K. said it. So don't come at me with that, oh, that's all a theory. No. J.K. Rowling said it's canon. So, anyway, he's very old. He's got a very long silver hair. I think it's silver. Mm-hmm. And he's wearing a purple cloak, which... Is that the cloak he normally wears? Purple?
I think so.
I don't know. I
think in most of the movies and on his cards and stuff, that's what he's normally
Oh, you're right. You know what I was thinking? That's not what I was thinking of. I remember hearing the other day that in one of the books at one of the feasts or something, Snape is wearing a green cloak. And I cannot imagine Snape wearing a green cloak. Any cloak other than black. That is strange. That's what I was thinking of. And he's got half moon spectacles. We find out that this is Albus Wolford Brian Percival. I did that wrong, didn't I? Wow, okay. Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. Wow. That's a mouthful. Dumbledore pulled out his put-outer, which I don't know why they didn't call the Deluminator here, because that's what it is.
Well, and it would make more sense as a Deluminator because it illuminates the light.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. That was very weird when I realized, because I've always called it a Deluminator. I didn't even realize until I started taking notes that they called this thing a put-outer. I've always just known it as the Deluminator. But that's what it's called. It's literally called the put-outer. And it looked like a silver cigarette lighter. As he clicked it, all of the lights in Privet Drive disappeared, one by one. He started walking down the street, but suddenly stops and says to the cat, "Fancy meeting you here, Professor McGonagall." Now this is our first hint of magic here. This is our first scene of magic.
Well,
After he says this,
somebody performing magic.
well, yeah, but we see magic for the first time here. So, as he says this, the cat transforms from a cat into a woman that had square glasses in exactly the same shape of the markings that were on the cat. Mind blown. So, McGonagall starts bickering about people not being careful, talking about muggles noticing owls and shooting stars and, walking around in cloaks and all that stuff. And that's where she makes the comment about, Voldemort, now that Voldemort's gone, now the muggles will discover us. Spoiler alert, they don't discover them.
Because muggles look at them.
Because muggles don't see nothing, do they?
So
it's never gonna get old. So Dumbledore responds to her by telling her they have very little to celebrate over the last 11 years. So again, this is foreshadowing. Well, I guess not foreshadowing about us learning about Voldemort. Because it's obviously after Voldemort, so you're not foreshadowing the future because we're past that at this point. But it kind of gives you a hint to okay, so this who guy that we're assuming he's talking, has connection with this, has terrorized the wizarding community for 11 years. That's a long time for one guy to hold power.
Oh, yeah.
One evil guy. I mean, so, obviously if they're talking about this in book 1, he's not gone. I remember, I don't really remember reading this first time, but obviously by the time I realized that they were talking about this, I already know who Voldemort was and that he comes back and whatever. But I every time I read this part, it's so obvious to me. Like they're bringing up all this in the very first chapter of the very first book. Obviously this is going to be important through the series. Right. Oh, he's gone. Yeah, he's probably not gone if you're talking about him being gone before we even know who he is.
Right.
So, talks about having very little to celebrate over the last 11 years. McGonagall then asks Dumbledore if who has really gone. Dumbledore tells McGonagall to call who by his name, which we learn is Voldemort.
Or Tom Riddle.
Or Tom Marvolo Riddle. Junior? Question mark? He'd be a junior, technically, right? Because Tom Riddle is his father. So he would technically be a junior or the second.
Good point.
Interesting. So even Voldemort doesn't know his real name. That's pretty sad. Anyways, McGonagall flinches at the sound of the name Voldemort. Again, foreshadowing everybody in the series except for Dumbledore, Snape. Okay, Dumbledore, Harry, and any Death Eaters, which Snape used to be a Death Eater. Spoiler alert. But I still, to this day, I still don't understand the flinching thing. I get it. You fear the name. I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I'm afraid of height. If somebody says, yeah, I jumped off a 20-story building, I don't flinch. I don't freak out. I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Y'all are crazy. You know, I don't like spiders. Where somebody's like, man, I was walking in the desert the other day and I saw a big old spider. I don't jump out of my chair.
Or are you saying an acronym
Right.
flow and you're not like, oh my god.
Yeah, like flinch at the name. Like you could be like, oh, don't say that. I don't like that. But flinch. I don't know. That's like. Did Voldemort punch you in the face specifically? Because then I would flinch. If somebody's like Voldemort and this guy just punched me straight in my face, I'd be like, oh, where? I mean, I get it. You know, they're flinching out of fear because they're afraid he's around. But that's if somebody runs up and yells Voldemort at you. If they're like, so yeah, the other day, me and Dean were talking about Voldemort. Like, you're going to fall out of your chair. Like, it's just a name. Right. That always kind of seemed a little dramatic to me.
Right.
Like flinching, full out flinching. And they freak out numerous times throughout the series when Harry says Voldemort. People yell at him. Like,
which is ridiculous.
Right. I mean, in the 7th book, spoiler alert, when they actually put a taboo on his name, alright, fine. If he says it, punch him in the face because you just summoned some Death Eaters. But until then, like, I get it. They thought it was cursed. They thought it was bad luck. But y'all are magic. Like yes, curses and stuff are real. But y'all are magic. You know the extent of what it can happen. Like, come on. Get real. Anyways, again, I digress. We're going to go on tangents like this a lot. Very passionate. So, McGonagall flinches because she's... I'm going to leave it there. We find out that Dumbledore was the only person that... Well, is the only person that Voldemort ever feared, and that he killed both of the Potters, Lily and James. But that he was unable to kill their son, Harry. Why couldn't he kill Harry? Find out more on Harry Potter series. When he couldn't kill Harry, his powers somehow broke and he disappeared. That's all we get. You got something?
And McGonagall, kind of scoffs at it and says, you mean to tell me after all the people he's killed, couldn't kill a baby?
Right.
And then asks, like, how does he survive? And this part I like. Dumbledore says, and I quote, we can only guess. We may never know. Which I find interesting because we find out later on that it seems like he ended up knowing why.
Right.
But it never really specifically states when he finds that out.
Yeah, well, also, he didn't say what he guessed. He just said, well, we guess. First of all, what do you guess? What's your guess? Second of all, as Dumbledore himself has stated throughout the series, his guesses are usually pretty accurate. So, with that, again, in Chapter 1, if this is your first time reading it, that seems logical. Oh, we can only guess. Nobody knows. After reading through the series, you basically, this is Dumbledore's way of saying, yeah, I know, but I can't say anything.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything because that's how Dumbledore is. You will find out. One of his biggest flaws is not telling people what's going on. Like, just tell people what's happening. This is crazy. I mean, I don't know about you, but, I think, his biggest flaw is the fact that he's too cocky. He thinks that he can handle everything himself. Watch any movie where the protagonist does not tell people what's going on. 99% of the time, stuff goes wrong. Come on, it's common knowledge. Right. I digress. Go ahead.
Well, McGonagall asks where Harry is, because she's like, well, if he's still alive, where is he? And Dumbledore's like, well, Hagrid's bringing him. First time reading, like, who's Hagrid?
Right. Hagrid.
And
sounds like my dog. Sorry.
And even McGonagall's like,
not far off.
Why?
Right. And right here, just McGonagall's hesitation and confidence with Dumbledore. Now, McGonagall, as we find out, McGonagall has nothing but full trust in Dumbledore, but even she questions this. So it kind of gives Hagrid right from the beginning that uncertainty. Like, they always kind of, because Hagrid's kind of character where they kind of, even when they quote him in the book talking, he just doesn't seem too bright.
Right, and I think that's where her fear comes from, her questioning comes from, like...
Right, and that's why it's so interesting, because it's, even McGonagall at this point, who fully trusts Dumbledore, questions his decision to let Hagrid do this. But Dumbledore, probably one of the wisest, if not the wisest wizard in history, trusts Hagrid with his life.
And if you watched Fantastic Beasts...
Oh, it's my favorite theory.
You kind of go and question, well, why? Why do you, why would you trust him with your life? Because we assume that Dumbledore is obviously, he's an older wizard, so he's probably more powerful.
Right.
Still haven't met this Hagrid guy.
Right.
But we're going to assume that Hagrid, from, McGonagall's questioning, is not as experienced.
Yeah, it's kind of a dum-dum is what we get from it.
So it's interesting to see somebody who seemed to have more power than somebody say, I trust you with my life.
Right. And
there's people stronger than you, but I trust you seemingly absolutely, without question. Here's my life.
Right. And, up until now, in real time, like, with Fantastic Beasts just coming out, well, not just coming out, but coming out in number 2.
The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Coming out soon, like, all the Harry Potter series, everything through the series, we know all we have to go on, like, between Dumbledore and Hagrid, is that Dumbledore has helped Hagrid numerous times. He helped him not go to Azkaban after being expelled. He gave him a job on the school grounds after he was expelled.
Right.
He's always helping Hagrid out. Hagrid always going to Dumbledore. Dumbledore didn't fire him or anything after he found out he had a dragon.
I love Hagrid as much as the next person. When people who haven't read the books find out later. He's a really likable guy. Does some
questionable
things. But you still like him as a character.
Right. No, I love Hagrid. Don't get me wrong. Hagrid's probably my top 3. Hagrid's the top 3.
Hermione, by the way.
Oh, I think Hermione.
I think that's because I like
Harry Potter's my number 5. I love Harry. Don't get me wrong, but Harry Potter's my number 5. Hermione's my number 1. She's my favorite, and that's not just because I think Emma Watson's adorable, but she is. That's because she is the definition of a true friend, and I love that. Like, she will
call you out and be like, hey.
She'll call you out, but she'll also, it's proven in the Order of the Phoenix when she rats out Harry's firebolt to McGonagall. Like, Ron is a friend in the sense of, he's like, oh, everything's fine, let's just have fun with the firebolt. He's the fun friend. And I love Ron too, but he's the fun friend. Hermione is the kind of true friend that she knows that Harry and Ron are going... she knows. Well, she knows that Harry and Ron are going to be angry at her. She knows that she's risking her friendship by telling McGonagall about that firebolt. But she's a true friend. She's more worried about Harry's safety than any of it. And it's a long shot.
In this book, we we had a couple of hints at people doing questionable things with broomsticks. So it's like, okay. Get the first hint in the first book.
Right, because Quirrell, yeah. Yeah, she has plenty of reason.
Book, it's like,
Right, she has plenty of reason, but, that's what I'm saying. She's a true friend. She's going to risk her friendship to protect him. And that's why she's my number 1. We can go into the list later and everything about that. I'm sure we'll end up with a question about that. So I'm going to save my top 5. But Hermione's number 1 for all of you that want to know. And if you want to know my top 5 or any more of my favorite characters, feel free to send us a message. to Hedwigs Army Podcast at yahoo.com and ask us some questions about that. And we'll throw them into our hot seat. Possibly.
Yes, we will.
So, back to what I was saying, though. So, my point was, with Hagrid, all we know is all the things that Dumbledore has done to help him. So why does he trust Hagrid with his life? And that jumps into that theory. I don't know if anyone has not heard this theory, that Hagrid helps Newt. And Hagrid helps Newt and Dumbledore defeat Grindelwald, and Hagrid may or may not do something that may risk his life to save Dumbledore. So Dumbledore quote owes him. I wouldn't say owing. I don't think Hagrid would ever use anything he did to make people owe him, but probably feels like he owes him his life.
Right.
And it's all a theory, but it's curious. Why would Dumbledore say he trusts Hagrid with his life so much? Or maybe Hagrid just, as we find out, Dumbledore is not all the old, wise, selfless man he turns out to be. He seems to be at this point. He's a little selfish and cocky and things like that. So maybe he just feels as though Hagrid owes his life to Dumbledore because of all the things Dumbledore's done for him. So he knows that, Hagrid owes him big time.
Right.
But all speculation and nothing confirmed on it thus far.
So going back to the scene with Hagrid, we hear a rumbling sound, and a huge motorcycle fell out of the sky with an enormous man flying on it. So it's like, oh, okay.
Enormous. That's a big man.
Described as having hands the size of trash cans. Now that...
Trash can lids, but yeah. Trash can lids?
That's a pretty huge person.
My hand's like the size of a trash can lid handle.
Oh.
Like the handle for a trash can lid. He's got the whole lid. Oh. He's got the whole lid on his hands.
And he brings Dumbledore a pile of blanket, which has Harry Potter inside of it. Hagrid tells Dumbledore he borrowed the motorcycle from Sirius Black.
Dun, dun, dun! Sirius Black.
Name drops of
Boom.
Sirius Black before we even get to why he's going to be important.
The first chapter of the first book of this series, and we already hear about Sirius Black. And for those of you who know the Harry Potter series, Sirius Black is a very important character, and this all comes full circle, and it is amazing. This is my favorite plot twist. And not just in the third book, I'm talking in the seventh book, when we find out all the details surrounding him getting this motorcycle. And it's literally from book 1 to book 7 goes full circle, and it's amazing. I love it.
Oh yeah, and we when we get the name drop, it's Hagrid saying, "Young Sirius Black lent it to me. I've got him, sir." And like we were saying, Sirius becomes very important later on. But this also kind of shows that this is before, and seemingly quite a bit of time before Sirius goes to Azkaban.
Right, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure that the next day, all the stuff happens with Peter Pettigrew. I'm pretty sure he makes one last ditch effort to get Harry. And once Hagrid takes him and he can't get Harry, he figures he's got nothing to lose, and that's when he decides to track down Peter.
Right.
And I think if Hagrid would have let Sirius take Harry, that Sirius would have never went for Peter, because he would be... Although he is really reckless, so it's hard to say. But that also, from what we see, could have been Azkaban turning him reckless.
Maybe.
That's why we need the Marauder story. But
and then, when Hagrid says this, Dumbledore even says, "No problems, were there?" Hagrid responds, "No, sir. House was almost destroyed, but I got him out all right before the Muggles started swarming." Then says, "He fell asleep as we were flying over Bristol." What I would love to know is two things. One, at what point would the Muggles have been swarming around? Because from the movie, and I'm pretty sure later on in the text, we find out the house was destroyed. And if it wasn't, even if it wasn't destroyed, right? When Voldemort cast that curse, the killing curse, the house has green lights coming from it. I don't know about you, but if it was me and I was the Potter's neighbors, I'd be starting to question what exactly is going on in that house. So, not only does Hagrid have to find the house,
right, well,
which...
Don't forget, though, that
how did he find
it's
it?
under the Fidelius charm.
Right, so how does he find out about it? How does he know where it is? Because are we saying then that, like, everybody that was a part of the Order knew about this?
Right, well, Dumbledore did. Dumbledore knew where the Potters were. And he probably told Hagrid where the house is.
Right.
Well, because once the Potters died, I believe the Fidelius charm.
I'm pretty sure it died. Oh, or maybe that's what the secret keeper. If the
Peter,
secret keeper dies, the secret dies.
But Peter never died.
So then that brings up a very interesting question. One, how did you find the house? And two, how did you find it before, the Muggles started swarming?
And how did Sirius find it? Because
Also,
Sirius
you know what? Maybe this goes back to the Muggles can't.
But I believe the Fidelius charm only works if you don't already know where it is. Like, for example, if Sirius obviously already knew where the Potters lived because he was their best friend, he probably visited them, I assume, on a regular basis. Therefore, once the Fidelius charm is active, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, feel free to correct me, any listeners, I believe that because Sirius already knew of the house's location, that he's still able to see it. So maybe Hagrid also already knew of it, because he knew Hagrid liked the Potters, and they were only 21 when they died, so he could have still been in contact with them. It's not like they were separated for 20 years.
Right, I feel like it's very interesting the way that's phrased.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I mean, I don't know, that's a hard one. So yeah, if anyone knows how
Hagrid would have known
where
enough time,
where the location is. I mean,
because obviously Hagrid can't apparate. Spoiler: he doesn't have a wand, does he?
But can he though? Can he?
I don't know.
Okay, so here's my thought. Here would be my thought, and I'm just going off of my own, theories here. I think once the Potters died, the Fidelius charm broke. Because of that, Hagrid can enter the house and see everything. And we do know he can perform magic with his umbrella, which is theorized to have the parts of his wand inside of them. Again, never confirmed.
Right.
But we know he can do some magic with the umbrella somehow. So, is it really a stretch to say that he can't apparate? We do know he apparates at some... I mean, it's a movieism, but we know he apparates out of King's Cross Station when he drops Harry off, when he was talking to him and he turns and he's gone. I mean, that is, it is in the movie, so it could just be a movie thing. But, is it too much to say he can't apparate? I mean, we do know he can do magic. So my thought is the app breaks in the house. Sirius is there because Sirius. Now, how Sirius finds out and gets there, I'm not sure. I know there's something that explains it, but I'm not sure. But Sirius is there. They talk about Harry. Takes Harry. Sirius offers him his bike because he knows he's going to be going to Azkaban. So he decides to take Harry out on the bike because he didn't want to apparate with the baby because what if something goes wrong and there's a splinch on the baby. So he decides to take the motorcycle out of there. That could all happen within 3 minutes. I mean, police aren't. I mean, and from what I gather from Godric's Hollow, it's probably not in or near a major city. It's probably a small town far out. So I'm assuming there's no close by police force. Probably takes them some time to get there.
Well, and we also haven't really been to England, so we wouldn't know those distances.
Right? Yeah. And
so if anybody,
yeah, if you're from England and you're listening, first of all, thank you. Second of all, let us know. I mean,
would it be possible to get from a place that seems to be pretty close to Bristol?
How quick is your police force? How active are they?
And
I mean, in America, you call 911 and they send a police unit right away and they take off right away. I mean, I don't know. Is it the same with England, or do they have a strong police force? Are they, super quick to be dispatched?
So maybe what would be a believable time?
Yeah.
For a man of average size to not only get in but get out.
Right.
Before
the police arrive.
Well, or before Muggles start, forming a circle.
Right, but to be fair, I mean, if you see all that crazy stuff going in the house, you're probably not going to go stand outside of the house.
Right.
I mean, if my neighbors were, if I were to hear gunshots and see the house being lit up in bullets, I'm not going to walk out of my door and go walk in front of the house. You know what I mean? I'm going to call the cops, I'm going to lock my doors, I'm going to close my windows, I'm going to go hide in my basement. You know what I mean? So you got to think of it that way too. Like, you're not going to go towards the killer or supposed killer. So you got to think of it that way. They're going to call the police. So it's reasonable. But what do you guys think? You guys think something different? You have your own theory on it? Do you actually know some canon on it that we're missing? Let us know. We're interested in hearing about it because that's something that's we've discussed a couple different times and just not sure, really. We're not 100% sure on it. So we obviously have different opinions on that.
And then soon after that, Dumbledore and McGonagall are checking Harry out, and they notice, the famous lightning bolt scar on his forehead. And McGonagall asks Dumbledore if, can you remove it, or
can you do something here?
Some blush or some cover up or something.
Right. I wonder if that would have worked.
I doubt it. Would have been interesting though.
Right.
Dumbledore replies that even if he could, he wouldn't, because scars can be useful. And we learn that Dumbledore actually has a scar on his left knee that is a perfect map of the London Underground, which again points to possibly a connection to, for those who have seen the trailer of the Crimes, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, seems to be set in London, so maybe we're going to get some clues as to maybe a connection between that scar on his knee and, this upcoming movie.
Maybe. That'd be interesting. I mean, we don't know when he got the scar. Maybe we'll learn that. Maybe Grindelwald gave it to him. Maybe. So maybe we'll learn some of that. That'd be interesting. Yeah, maybe that'd be interesting to see. But yeah, so Hagrid, being the blubbering, not a man baby, saying nothing baby about him, but like being the blubbering giant he is. he starts crying because Lily and James are dead, which is horrible. 21 years young. Horrible. So he's crying. Lily and James are dead, and Harry is being sent to live with the Muggles.
Study Muggles.
The worst sort of Muggles. I've been watching them all day. I've been watching them all day. The worst sort of Muggles. Wow, my accents are not on par. So McGonagall's. What's that?
Maybe you got to work on it.
Okay, I'm not gonna work on it. You're gonna get what you get. Sorry, guys. So McGonagall snaps at him to be quiet. And then Hagrid grabs the bike and he is out of there. He leaves. No reason for him to stick around no more. He wants to return the bike. Spoiler alert, he doesn't return the bike.
Doesn't get a chance to.
Doesn't get a chance to. Because young Sirius block. So Dumbledore puts Harry on the doorstep along with a note. Typical 80s. Leave the kid, ring the bell, and run. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. There's places you can take kids nowadays. I mean, he's got a good excuse, but like, you know, I mean, he left him there for the Death Eaters to come get. That was
yeah, and he even says, "Good luck, Harry." Okay.
Yeah. Good luck, bro. See you in 11 years.
Right.
Hopefully, you're still alive.
So, it's funny. You want him to be safe, but what? You're just gonna leave him on a doorstep? Possibly in I don't know I don't remember if it says what season it is, but this potentially could be like fall. I mean, it's obviously not winter, but possibly fall weather.
I mean, again, from the movie, it looks like it might be well, I think they talked about Harry had just turned 1, and we know he was born July 31st. So it's probably midsummer at this point. So just starting to kind of turn into fall. So it's probably again. I don't know how the temperature is in London in the summer, but it's probably in like the 70s, 80s, 60s,
and what
between
about
60s and
rain?
80s.
Are we just gonna let this kid get a cold?
Okay, I'm assuming it's not raining.
What if it rains in the morning? I mean, that's for somebody.
Look, nobody said that this is a perfect plan.
Well, no, but I'm saying for somebody who seemingly has stuff together in later books, this seems to be kind of a
reckless. Yeah, a little reckless. A little
last minute, we'll
by
just
chance.
do this. This will
Right.
work out.
A little like 50-50. It could rain or it could be fine. You know, he could catch pneumonia and he's a child, infant, but
Death Eaters could find him and hurt him and
forget
all
it.
this stuff.
Forget about it. Yeah, I mean, but Dumbledore knows everything, so who are we to argue with the all-knowing? Anyways, so him and McGonagall go to leave, pulls back out the put-outer / deluminator, and he clicks it, which returns all the lights to the streets and lights up the streets.
Which I find interesting. You have to click it individually to
take them away, and then click it once.
To get everything back?
I mean, I guess it makes a little sense.
I mean,
there's probably like a mass opening. I don't know.
I mean, even so,
it gets even weirder in the 7th book. So
it's like, okay, well, I'm assuming you're using this to get away. So are you trying to blind your adversaries by putting all the lights back at once?
Right.
Or are you just trying to give away your position as if you're under a helicopter spotlight? And be like, I'm right here.
Right where it's completely dark. Yeah, so the chapter ends with Harry being woken up by a screaming Mrs. Dursley when she...
As I would probably be doing the same.
Yeah, again, 90% of the time they're over dramatic. Here's the 10%. If I open up my door first of all, I open my door. She said she opened it up for the milkman arriving. Number one, did the milkman not see the kid and ring the bell? If she's opening it up to get her milk, That means the milkman had gone to her house.
Maybe the milkman was a wizard and he was a little...
All right? Or maybe the milkman left it. You know what I mean? Having an affair with the milkman. No, but I mean, that's, you know. So first of all, like, hey, milkman, you're the worst human ever. You're going to see a baby on the front porch and you're just going to put the milk down and walk away. That ain't my problem.
Right.
Not my baby, not my problem. Number 2. Yeah, if I open up my door and there's a baby on my step, first of all, probably 5 in the morning, I'd probably scream as well. But if that's not bad enough, he gets woken up by a screaming Mrs. Dursley, which cannot be pleasant. But he does not know he's special, he does not know he's famous, and he does not know that he will be poked and prodded by his cousin Dudley for the next few weeks. What? So they're the same age. Matter of fact, Dudley's barely older than him. Just by, I think, a few months. So Dudley's around, you know, a little over 1 at this point. So what 1-year-old is poking and prodding a baby like you're a baby?
Right.
Can you walk already? Are you walking up and poking and prodding? I don't know. Can kids walk at 1? I don't have a kid. I don't know. What age is they walking? Anyways, like he's foreshadowing the fact that he's going to be a little punk down the road. He's already being a punk.
This is him mixing with Harry.
Right, yeah. This is
the very thing.
Right, this is him mixing with the bad influence. He's poking and prodding the bad influence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Great one, Petunia. Anyway, so that's chapter numero uno.
The Boy Who Lived.
The Boy Who Lived. And wow, that's a chapter. You know, you get a lot of information in chapter 1.
Hopefully we didn't overwhelm you with our tangents about theories and things that happen.
Yeah, you know, and if we did, too bad. No, we appreciate you sticking through with us if you've made it to this point through our tangents and twists and turns. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're hoping to as time gets on, we'll stick to the script a little better. But right now, we're too excited to keep in our thoughts. So we're just throwing them out and throwing caution to the wind and going all in on this thing. I mean, we talk about Harry Potter for fun. By ourselves, let alone on a podcast with potentially thousands of listeners, if we're lucky, knock on wood. But, so if you're listening, we really appreciate it. We just are just 2 guys that like Harry Potter and have too much time on our hands. Actually, we don't. That's why it's taken us probably 2 months to record 2 episodes. But we will be publishing weekly. So this is, you know, once these are out, we're not going to be taking 2 months per episode. We're going to be taking 5 days per episode. So we got a lot of work cut out for us, but it's all in fun, and hopefully not all the chapters are this jam-packed, because this was a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You can't skip too much, because you learn there's so much first look.
This is really the introduction
to the entire series. And there's just so much foreshadowing in the first chapter. Like, there's so many things. I'm reading, and every 5 sentences, I'm just like, whoa. Like, there's so much. And it's just like, okay, so that happens then. Oh, Sirius Black. Oh, wow. This happens in book 3. Oh, this comes back in book 5. Oh, the Deluminator, that comes back in book 7. Like, oh, it's a full circle, you know? I mean, there's so much. And you get our first look at magic. You meet some key characters for the first time, including Harry Potter, the Dursleys, you know, Dumbledore, Hagrid, McGonagall. They're going to be in every single book, not most of the chapters of every single book. So, at least one of them. So, they're some key characters. I mean, I didn't even bring up, you know, certain things like the newscaster that's talking about the owls and stuff being spotted. You know, I don't know if you caught it, but he grins. He's talking about this, and he's talking about owls being spotted in daylight. Like, that's weird. Shooting star, storm of shooting stars.
Right.
Like, it's rare to see a shooting star. And there's a downpour of shooting stars, and he smiles, he grins. So it makes you think, does this guy know about wizards? He's got to, right? He's got to know about some wizards. I mean,
he's Lee Jordan's father.
Maybe. I mean, I did read something once. His name is Tom, so it's speculated, and I can't remember if it's been proven or disproven that he could be Tom Tonks. Because Tom Tonks is a muggle.
Good point.
But I don't remember if that's been disproven or not. But either way, it makes you think. I mean, maybe he's just one of those guys that smile awkwardly when in a weird situation. Or maybe he knows something a little more about it. Or maybe he's just not stupid and he's catching on to something weird going on here. You know, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know, hey, something's not right. But, anyways, we have plenty of more chapters. We have plenty of more off-topic discussions and tangents to go on. So we're just getting started.
And we appreciate you guys, taking, an hour or two out of your day.
Yeah, we're at, what is it? Oh my God, we're at an hour 20 right now. We up there, so
we appreciate you guys, spending the time to listen to us and, to give some extra thought to things maybe you either may have thought about or maybe some things that you haven't thought about.
Right, so hold on. Sorry about that, guys. So, yeah, I mean, we don't have any questions right now. I mean, unless, let's go ahead on a spot. Think of a question for the chapter. For me, I'll think of one for you. Or one that we can both answer. Let's
I'll let
see.
you go
So,
first.
yeah, so let's say, what do? You see a cat reading a map or reading a street sign. I mean, what do you do? I mean, this is 20.
Well, first I question how I know it's reading, and second,
Right, okay, let's say it seems like it's reading.
You know what? I'm gonna befriend that cat,
Right?
because I'm a cat person.
Give it some treats. If it doesn't eat the treats, you know something's wrong. Would McGonagall eat cat treats while in cat form?
That's a great question.
Does she
I
eat cat
don't
food
know.
in cat form? What? Okay.
We're going on.
So many questions. I have a simple answer. This is 2018. You know what I'm doing? I'm taking a picture of that. I'm putting it on Snapchat and Facebook. That's what I'm doing.
Oh my God.
That's what I did. It's 2018. That's what I'm doing.
I guess. So, my question to you, and maybe we can end on this question. What would you do if you randomly saw lights go out one by one in your neighborhood? Say you happen to be up late at night and you see that happen. What's your first thought? Is your first thought?
My first thought is, all right, well, I lived a good life, but I'm going to die. Now, it is either the apocalypse or there's some freaky deaky movie stuff going on right now. And I'm probably not going to make it out alive from this. So, I'm probably just going to, I'll go to bed, see what happens in the morning. I mean, what are you going to do there? You know?
Oh, jeez.
What about you?
Yeah. I honestly don't know, because, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Try to run? Well, most horror films have told me that that's not going to work out very well for me. Neither is running upstairs. So, lose-lose situation. I guess I'm just going to sit there and watch and see what happens.
I'm going to watch some Harry Potter. That's what I'm going to do. All right, well...
Until next time.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here, guys. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Once again, you can reach out to us. Give us, your opinions, thoughts, questions, fan stories. Say hi. Doesn't really matter what you do. Just go ahead and reach out to us. And we will try to respond to everybody when we can and things like that. So once again, we got our email is hedwigsarmypodcast@yahoo.com. Our Twitter, we got Hedwigs_Army. You can reach out to us there. I'm Salty Vulture on Twitter. That is my Twitch name if you know Twitch. There we go. We have an Instagram. We don't have anything going on it right now, but it's Hedwigs Army Podcast at yahoo.com. You can find us there on Instagram. Or I think it's just Hedwigs Army Podcast on Instagram.
I think so.
And, we're just going to kind of post some things on there. Not really sure yet. We're going to make a YouTube channel where we're going to do some fun, exciting things for you guys. We don't really have... We have a couple ideas. We don't want to give any spoilers out right now, but just something to keep you, give you guys a little bit more. So thank you guys, and until next time, mischief managed.
Every great wizard in history has started out as nothing more than what we are now, students. If they can do it, why not us?